Thank you. We're going to start our study session. Okay. Can't take me nowhere. I have item 8, and I'm going to call it ready, and I'll know by Monday. Counselor Caldwell.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Blessings to all, everyone. Today, I have items 9, and okay, you're here today, all right?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Janet Burke, the Director of Research. This grant is a $20,000 grant for a project to keep pets with their owners, owners that may be struggling with their cats haven't been vaccinated. It's primarily dogs, but they can do cats too. And we can give them money, low-cost vaccinations. We are doing some dog training for dogs that are reactive, that the owners feel they want to have trained and they can't afford it. We are going to purchase, if approved, some cages, big outdoor where they can get some exercise. And perhaps this month you were short on money and didn't have food for your dog. We can provide food for up to a month.
So can I ask a question, Janet, as
Sure.
I'm listening to you? So is there any kind of a way that we can partner with the Kia Foundation?
I'm certain that we could. Yeah.
Okay, you know who they are,
yeah,
right?
of
Right,
course.
and they give like free or low-cost dog and cat
Right,
food.
yeah.
So
Right.
there should be a way we
Yeah,
can
that's
partner with them.
absolutely.
to
That's
stretch
a
the
great
dollar.
idea. Yep.
Janet, why is it only 2 zip codes, though?
Well, we worked with the Syracuse it's not very much money, and those are the 2 zip codes that they normally receive the most calls from. So that's why we chose those. We didn't want to spread it out too thin so that we didn't make a difference in a neighborhood. But that's how we chose them.
So is there any way we could put discretionary in there? So
Sure.
I mean, I know these are the 2 footprints that we're looking at, but can we put it in a grant that
Absolutely.
if necessary, we will use it for, just in case, we need to help
Yes,
out
and
families.
another thing that we're doing is as far as marketing it, it seems like people like magnets. So we're buying a lot of magnets so people can have them on the refrigerator, so they'll have the numbers. So, and for dog control and for other things that they can use. So we can absolutely stretch this money and get that over on the other side of town too.
Okay.
Will so people just be able to walk in and request the service?
No, there'll be a number to call, and you'll explain it to the people on the pit crew or the dog control, what your issue is, or they may be referred by dog control. Dog control may get a call for a dog that's barking too much, that needs some more exercise, and they could say, well, there's room out here in this backyard where we could get one of the big cages, and they can run around and get more exercise, and then they won't bark as much.
So who's actually administering the resources? Is it the pit crew?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So if dog control gets the call, they have to call pit crew to get the resources to give to? Okay.
Is there an application process yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We had to do a pet assessment first and put that in, and then we put in the application.
Janet, what would be some of the mechanism to be able to verify that this person is at 13204 and 103-205?
Well, normally you deal with the person probably at their home. The people would bring the dog food, for example, to their home, or they would bring them the coupon or the paperwork for low cost spay or neuter. You deal with them probably at their home.
Their home.
Mel?
And then last question, is this the first time we've applied for this, or?
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Green.
Thank you, Madam President. Items 10 through 12 deal with the agreement with the cable TV. Joe?
Yes, good afternoon. Joe Barry, First Assistant Corporation Counsel. And as Councilor Green mentioned, these items deal with the Spectrum cable TV franchise. And as a bit of background, the city has had a cable TV franchise going back to the 1980s when it was a new technology. It's regulated by the Public Service Commission as a public utility. So in that respect, it's similar to National Grid and Verizon, whom we also have franchises with. And a franchise basically means we're giving you the right to use the public right-of-way, and in return, you have to pay us certain fees and abide by our permitting process to protect the public right-of-way. So this current franchise agreement is based upon the Time Warner agreement that was in place since 1997. Spectrum bought out Time Warner. They inherited the agreement, and now we're looking to renew it for another 10 years. The terms and conditions of this new agreement are essentially the same as the previous agreements. The main portion being Spectrum will pay us a 5% fee on their gross receipts. And that's set by state law. It's a cap. 5% is the maximum we can receive, and we have always received the 5%.
A total of what, Mr. Berry?
It's 5% of their gross receipts, however, on an annual, on a billing basis.
So, but we would have the total somewhere of what they paid, right?
Yes, the finance department should have track of those, and we do audit them from time to time.
Okay.
So, Bill, I have a question. With this agreement with Spectrum, can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With this agreement with Spectrum, is this why we only have one opportunity besides,
Verizon?
no, Verizon is not even in the city. No.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and actually, you can see right in the agreement, it's very clear that this is a non-exclusive agreement. It has to be that way under state law, and over the years, I know previous administrations tried to encourage competition, for instance, with Verizon, but our condition always is if you come into the city, you have to serve the entire city, all city neighborhoods. At one point, many, many years ago, Verizon was interested in coming in and just selected neighborhoods. And we can't allow that. So
Still do.
I think now the economics of it, with all the other alternatives with streaming, it's almost like a natural monopoly, that it would be hard for another system operator to come in and build out a competing system and find it economical. And we do have a couple of other unique aspects of this agreement. We require Spectrum to maintain an office within the city. That's been a requirement that we've had going back to the 1980s, and they agreed to abide by that. And we had previously, just another example of kind of an additional benefit is there's an appendix in the back of the agreement. They provide complimentary cable services to city departments and to certain nonprofit groups. And in addition, they operate a closed circuit system for the fire department for training purposes. So the fire department uses that between their fire stations to help have a method for training, connecting all their units. But finally, I want to mention the big change with the previous agreement. Really only significant change is we had previously required the cable operator to have a public studio for public access channels. In the good old days, people would go in there and film studio shows. I think some of you might remember Walt Shepard. I think he was.
Yes, we do.
He used it a lot. But now it's with the new age of streaming alternatives like YouTube and Instagram. Spectrum basically said no one's using it. It's just not a facility that makes sense in today's world. So they asked, and we the administration agreed with your consent to allow them to close that down. And that is why we have number 12, because agenda item 12, they're going to donate to us all the equipment that's in that studio. And the city's going to use that, my understanding is to find uses with nonprofit groups and maybe city operations.
So my last question, and you probably don't know the answer, but I just want to know. So with them being the only cable actual facility here, they can just, we have no control of how every time we turn around, constituents' prices are getting raised with the cable, right?
Correct. In 1996, the federal government passed the Telecommunications Act and basically took away regulation of cable rates from local government. So we no longer have that authority. It's done through the FCC.
Yeah, Spectrum offers cable services, like you just asked, but they also offer internet, obviously. And Verizon is getting into offering internet with the 5G boxes that they installed throughout the city. But what Verizon didn't do is provide FiOS to the entire city.
Right.
There's only certain areas they
Right.
provide it, so it's kind of a mixed bag. And DirecTV is also available in the city of Syracuse, right? So that's technically a cable provider.
We have to be able to put with all the trees
Right.
and everything. Everybody can't get DirecTV. There's a lot of part of the population and community can't have it. Yeah. Nope. So they're really only stuck to one
Spectrum.
Spectrum and
So Spectrum need to refund everybody in this room some money for all the last week we didn't get no channels.
Just a few
My,
channels.
yeah, my understanding is they're working on that.
Yeah, they working on it, but they still raise my bill, Spectrum.
Yeah, that's a concern because we have no, but we have to. Is there any way we can start talking to Verizon and other places to see if they will be willing? Because when there's competition and there's opportunities, but when they're not, they get to do what they want, and then people are sort of stuck. People who don't have the finances or the means get stuck with paying $300 a month for cable.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, we had tried that in the past, and it's just not economical. We can see if the administration wants to reach out to them, have those discussions, but, you know, in today's world with different alternatives, it's very expensive to come in and build a competing cable TV service.
We have broadband
The
coming.
structure costs would be amazing.
And that's
Huge,
why
and
when they
that's why
tried to
they're not
get
doing it,
folks,
so.
when they tried to do it, because it was Spectrum and it was Comcast when all of this started happening. And the people from down south tried to warn us, but we didn't listen. And we let Spectrum come in, and the FCC just took away all the regulations, and this is why we have what we have right now, because we don't stand up and fight back. Spectrum.
But we are standing up and fighting back with the city. I mean, we have our broadband project that we're doing, we're funding. Rescue money, broadband, it's coming, internet everywhere. And then it's just a matter of the streaming services and those other things they can tap into, or,
With internet, you have access to YouTube TV,
right,
Hulu, all those other
Right.
alternatives that really,
right?
so there is competition, it's just not through a traditional
What it
cable.
looks like,
Right.
exactly.
The
Changing its face.
municipality.
Any other?
It's required, so this item, well, both items 11 and 12 would be held pending the public hearing on the 8th, authorized on the 18th, and the final vote on October 2nd if the council is agreeable.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Item 13.
Good afternoon, Council. Mike Canizaro, Commissioner of Finance. So number 13 is an agreement with the Bonadillo to perform, it's an indirect cost allocation audit. It's really just a DOT closeout audit when we have a large capital project that is, completed. New York State requires, an independent auditor come in to make sure the, cost allocation is correct. The cost of these services are between $7,000 and $10,000, and then additionally, the audit fee is reimbursable by the federal and New York State government. So typically, the low end, these are 80% reimbursed projects. I know right now we're going through one of these audits that's actually a 100% reimbursed project, so there'll be no cost to the city for the audit. Bonadillo, they perform our annual financial statement audit, so there's a lot of continuity there. They go into PeopleSoft, so it's a good relationship, and because of their experience working with the city, it's, we have to use less resources on our end to kind of complete that audit. Any questions? Thank you.
Item 14.
Good afternoon. I have items 14 and 15.
Your name?
Item 14, sorry, Nicolas Diaz, Chief Innovation and Data Officer for the city. Item 14 is an authorization to pay the maintenance fees for a company called Civic Plus, which are is the company that maintains our Cyclic Fix application, which in turn is what powers our City Line app. And item 15 is an authorization to extend for 1 year our collaboration with the Harvard Kennedy School for our procurement transformation project.
I have a question, if I could, regarding number 14. Is there any improvement coming to C-Click Fix ability to talk to the IPS system? Because I know now when we report things in C-Click, sometimes it immediately closes out. And the reason for that, they tell us, is that it's been transferred to IPS, but there's no way for the person reporting to know that it's been dealt with versus it's just a glitch in the system and it kicks it out.
Yeah, I believe that refers to some complaints in Cyclic Fix, not all of them. I do not believe that that is something that is in the works, but we do have a roadmap of improvements that we are asking from Cyclic Fix, so I can look at that and get back to you.
Even if it's something simple like, your message has been received, it's now going to be closed out because it's been transferred to another system.
Right.
If you have further questions, you can call blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Versus calling your counselor. No offense.
Is this going to be the yearly cost going forward?
This
Every
is
year we're going to pay the 125?
This is for 2 years.
Say that again?
2 years.
For 2 years. Okay, gotcha.
But it only says one.
Yes, from
Right?
July 1 to June
23 to
30,
24.
2024.
That may be a typo. I'll make sure that gets amended.
Any other questions on 14 and 15? Thanks, Nico.
Thank you.
Item 16 will be discussed in executive session on Monday, so we'll move to item 17. Is there anyone that wants to specifically introduce this one? This is the reappointment of Leah Whitmer.
Hi, counselors. Corey Driscoll-Dunham, Chief Operating Officer. I think Leah's doing a great job. Thank you.
Do you want to just explain to counselors
Yes.
how the terms, like the length and who oversees her, and just so
Sure.
people understand?
Yes, so, and Leah, feel free to come on up. But it's a joint reporting structure because the Parking Violations Bureau, which Leah oversees, reports through finance. The BAA is really an arm of the law department, and so Leah, in her role, kind of has dual reporting. Leah was appointed to a 5-year term, and so she is up. That term is up. And so we're here before you asking for another 5 years for Leah to continue her important, critical work on behalf of the city.
Any questions?
No, I compliment Leah and all her work. I mean, through COVID and all that, and working with codes and zoning, we're making a lot of progress in that as far as like stability of the neighborhoods and housing, so.
And this is nothing against Leah, obviously. If anybody was standing here, I would ask this question. Is the 5-year a bit excessive? Like, nobody else is appointed for 5 years. Why
Yeah,
did we
I
pick
mean,
5?
I think that was just in the enabling legislation for creating the BAA that, it's oftentimes mayoral appointments don't necessarily require the approval of the council, but in the enabling legislation that created the BAA, that was the term that was set, and it set forth the process that the mayor would appoint with the confirmation by the council.
I can't speak for the original legislation, but I think in my head, part of it was that it wouldn't time up with the mayor administration, so it's sort of less political than, a department chair or something like that would come and go.
All right, gotcha.
Leah Whitmer, Director of the BAA. So, and I also just think to that question, I mean, again, it was in the enabling legislation, but it's supposed to be in a fair and impartial tribunal that's adjudicating cases that are issued. So obviously, we've got the non-compliant property code tickets from codes. As Corey mentioned, the other arm that doesn't need an appointment for parking is under the Commissioner of Finance. And those are the parking tickets issued by SPD. Now we're folding in the illegal set out tickets issued by DPW. But my understanding, having been on the task force that created the Bureau, was to enable the director and chief administrative law judge, because I serve in both capacities, to be able to feel comfortable, again, despite, who's in office, to adjudicate those cases. Thank you.
We'll go to item 18.
Good afternoon, Council. Matt OJ, Commissioner of Assessment. Got a number of role changes today, going back a few years, primarily sewer charges that were corrected for us by the county that we'd like to apply to those past roles. I've also got Lincoln Park Drive, which was an internal error based on a property owner's, multiple property owners own shares of the property. An enhanced star was improperly removed. We've corrected that. Also have a sidewalk charge.
Any questions? Okay. Commissioner, let's do 19.
Also coming to request that the council reappoint Susan Straub of Eastwood to another 5-year term on the Board of Assessment Review. Sue has been here, well, since before I've been here. Really knows the field, has a background in real estate, conducts herself with professionalism in the face of hundreds of, thank you. That says more than I can say, Counselor.
Yeah, everybody should tune into one of those Board of Assessment Review things to just get a gist of what happens there, so God bless.
And Commissioner, we have another vacancy, are we?
And we do have a vacancy that we would like to disseminate word of far and wide. Chuck Fahey resigned in August, and we'd like to fill his seat prior to their convening next January.
Okay. And I think we're planning to put it on the city website, right?
Yep.
To encourage applications.
Administration's putting that out, and then it'll ultimately be at council discretion who gets appointed.
Do people apply for that?
Absolutely. Ruthnie has created a portal on the website for all the mayor's boards and commissions. People can apply directly through the website. Thanks all.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor Gathers.
Thank you, Madam President. Items 20 through 22. Start with number 20. This will be Commissioner Robinson.
Good afternoon, Council.
Hi.
Commissioner Robinson over at DPW. This item here is, we did an RFP last summer to ask for engineering services for a few companies, and we had a committee selection, and they selected 4 of the firms. This is to help out with pavement marking details, traffic volume modeling, ADA facility design, construction, document development, just a lot of engineering stuff. Big help.
Any questions?
I think President Hudson was on that committee as well. So, yeah. August. It's a long time ago.
Okay.
Any questions from the council? All right. Item 21.
But 21 is just a rate change. They went from 225 to 350 per ton. And we got to pay them, so.
Any further questions? All right. Item 22. Come on down, Rich.
Hello, Rich DeVesti, Fleet Director. We're just using some funds, ARPA funds, to purchase 10 more tippers, 4 in stock and 4 to add a couple to the other older trucks.
So that puts us at a total of how many tippers?
Well, we have 28 right now on about 19 trucks. We have 19, it'll be 19 trucks by the time we're done.
Okay.
And some of the older tippers, they move a lot, so we have to have a couple for backup. They get banged around pretty good.
All right.
What's the lead time on these, Rich?
How long does it take to get them? Just a few weeks.
Yeah, because we had a conversation this morning, and I was trying to figure out the capacity of the tippers. And as you stated, some of them are older, and with the new ones coming in, because we all know we still see things being done that we'd rather not be done, and the tippers would help do that, so.
Oh, yeah.
So this will
And
put
they
us
go,
at,
they move a lot. I mean.
and this
using
will
them
put us
hundreds
at
of times.
capacity to be able to do that, right?
The question said some are older. You mean the tipper is older? We just started.
We had some trucks years ago, 4 years ago that came in with the tippers already on them.
Oh,
So
okay.
they need to be replaced. So we got to update some of them. That's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
All righty, we might be out of here before 1 o'clock. Okay, Counselor Schultz.
Just jinxed us. Great job. Thank you, Madam President. You know, I have items number 23 to 26. Mr. Driscoll?
Greetings, Counselor Schultz. Greeting, counselors. Number 23, I'm addressing strategic development specialists. This is basically when we do the 81 project. DOT will be, when they do streets like Almond Street, they will be replacing all the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, all those kinds of things. But connected to those new pipes will be pipes from 1820, 1840, really old infrastructure. And so we'd really be missing a major opportunity if we don't do everything in our power to try to do a dig once policy and replace all that old water infrastructure that's adjacent to the 81 project. So this is a contract with strategic development specialists. They find all the grant money that's out there and they chase it for different groups. They work with the New York State Thruway Authority and the city of Binghamton, and they're very pleased with the results that they've gotten working with them.
Where are they based, Joe?
Syracuse.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
local outfit?
Local outfit.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So to remove all that, it will be just $60,000?
Yeah, we're gonna try them out to see how it goes for a year. But yeah, that was the agreed amount to start. So they're gonna, they have a good ROI. For every dollar you put in, I think they get something like 20 on average back. So we'll see how they do. If they can chase down some good money for us to address some of this infrastructure, then we're looking at potentially expanding that moving forward.
Can you say what you said again? The every dollar down and money
Yeah,
back?
I believe they have,
What is that?
I forget what Strategic had exactly in their presentation, but it was somewhere in the ballpark of for every dollar they've received throughout their career, they've returned at least 20 in grant funding. So.
Another question, the pots of money available for this work that's going to be needed, are we, the city, going to be tapping into that as well, like DASNY and the other funding streams? So are we going to basically be competing against ourselves for money, given our municipality and our location?
No, I don't think so. So you mean competing against ourselves in what sense?
Well, so Janet would better know the whole DASNY and how much money per year we can apply for. I don't know, are there limits to that? So are we going to be, no.
I would feel that's
competing with
Janet.
other, like, are you going to apply for?
No, as far as
Lots of-
the DASNY grants, there is no limit. It just depends on what the sponsors are willing to give us.
So they don't limit by municipality, like, Onondaga County asked for 2 million, that's all we have for that area, so.
Well, that would be, I think that would be handled on the sponsor's end. They may know an amount, but that's not told to us. We just get what they give us.
Okay, and this contract's only for a year, right? That we're paying them 60,000 of the rescue money? How does that coincide with 26, the grant of 150 to 180 million that we're going to be applying for?
Those are different wheelhouses. So this one is basically to add capacity to the city staff. And then the other big grant is being pursued with DOT as the lead applicant. So we're not using any city staff or capacity to apply for that larger grant. Well, some with Sarah Walton, sorry, yeah. But, yeah, sorry, she's not doing anything. She really doesn't do much at her job. I'm being very sarcastic. No.
Right, so
Yes,
the other
yes.
one is going after
As I
infrastructure
said,
too.
this is more to focus on infrastructure that is outside of the scope of the project. So DOT and other funds will be, chasing down the stuff that's directly impacted, but this will be for, like the Almond Street corridor and some of those other areas where the old infrastructure is connected, and we're not looking for grant funding currently for any of those areas, You know what I'm saying?
Sort of, yeah.
The grant that you're talking about specifically is a specific geographical area, and this would be for other areas. So if that makes sense.
Okay, last question. So we're going after money, obviously. Do
Yep.
we know how much money we think we need, how much work needs to be done, what the time frame of that work is, and can we handle all of it, given all the other money is coming in?
Yeah, it will be challenging. We've identified roughly about $100 to $120 million worth of need in the first phase of the 81 project. But again, that would be if we were to do a proper dig once and get everything done, do all the sewers, do all the water, do everything that we want to do. If we get 10 million or if we get 20 million, it's not like we can't do the project because we don't have, you know what I'm saying? We will address in order of priority the aspects of the project that we can get done. Ideally, we would love to get a couple $100 million and be able to do both phase 1 and phase 2. But we also have to stay in touch with what grants are out there, when we can apply, and seeing if it fits in with the DOT's timeline, and if it's not too late to get the money released in time to fit into the 81 project. But also there's phase 1 and phase 2 of the 81 project. So I think we've obviously contracts 1 and 2 are already under construction, so we've missed the boat to get grant money involved in those ones. But there are other aspects of the project that will be 3 years down the road or so. So we're hoping that this funding can get involved in the later stages.
Okay. I hope in that year time frame, there's enough time to apply for things that we can actually get during the year. But we'll probably see them back on the agenda again next year, I would imagine. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
It's nice seeing you, Joe.
Yeah, good to be back, guys.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Number 24? Which
Isn't that a companion piece? No?
24, I think, was part of that, right? So, okay, so Michael Collins, Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development for items 25 and 26. And certainly a follow-up on what Joe Driscoll just said. Apparently, I also need to defend Sarah Walton's work. So this is, the first one is an endorsement of a grant application that we've got. New York State DOT is going to apply to United States DOT for upwards of $150 million to be able to do work within the region related to 81, but specifically there's an opportunity to go for 30 million or possibly more within the East Adams area for some of that money. And so I'm here to introduce the items. I can speak to them a little bit, but we do have Scott Butler from New York State DOT, Sarah Walton, who's Director of East Adams Development, and obviously Joe Driscoll as well to answer any questions that I'm able to answer for you.
I have some questions.
Sure.
For Scott.
For Scott?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Scott Butler, New York State Department of Transportation.
Okay, Scott Butler, Department of Transportation. I just have a few questions for you that maybe you can answer for me. And I'm looking at this piece of it, and it has nothing to do with this, but I'm looking at the equity piece of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And when we started talking about equity and inclusion, when this project started,
Yes, ma'am.
I guess it's disturbing for me because you know where I'm going. I got some calls. I got a call. And it bothers me that what is the $289 million, I think, that was distributed? Something like
Contract
that.
1 is about 289, and then contract 2 is 385.
And the minority population have been totally left out of that whole process. And they're not happy, and neither am I. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out where does equity and inclusion and all of that good stuff come into play?
Well, in specific to those two contracts, those are different contracting mechanisms for the department. Those are design build contracts. So our DBE requirements are required to be a part of those bids before we award the contract. So the DBE requirement of 10% on those contracts were met before we did award the bid. Now, speaking
By
freely
what?
with you.
Women?
Yes, that's both minority and women. Disadvantaged business enterprises, a little bit different than the MWBE program that we have to follow on our federally funded projects. So there is a little bit of a difference. But obviously understanding the complaints, because we have heard them as well as you have, and you've shared them with us. So we are looking at new and different ways to do things within that structure on contracts 3, 4, and 5, which are design bid build contracts.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again, because I'm hoping that at some point that we can actually correct a lot of these things, because you know what, it gets really tiresome after a while to keep saying include us.
Yes.
It gets real tiresome.
Yes, understood.
So to follow up on that, I was at the jobs meeting last week, and I actually asked that question, how are we doing with meeting that metric? And you answered and said, we have met the metric. So I guess another question would be, have any plans to change that metric? Because we've met them, but it's not satisfying folks, so.
Unfortunately, with the I-81 project, we're guys by federal law, not state law. So, unfortunately, the DBE requirements are federally conscripted to us. So we are looking at ways to increase the goal, but with our federal partners that we need to increase it for us. So we are looking at that for the contracts that we have more direct control over. So it is something we are trying to advance, but I will say we do need help from our federal partners, FHWA and USDOT, on that.
Maybe the council can write some resolutions or letters requesting that those metrics change, because,
And maybe the
it's way
federal
up
partners
above.
hear us now, loud and clear.
Have accountability here that we have to make sure that it's included of all, right?
Mhm.
And to say that we've met our metrics, right, is not fair.
Understood.
So, yeah, moving
But you're
forward.
bound by state and federal regulations, obviously.
On this particular project, we're bound by more federal constraints when it comes to the DBE program. It's not the same as the MWBE program, so we are confined by those constraints, but at the same time, we are trying to advance understanding the complaints and the concerns of the community and obviously the counselors, because I think I've talked to, at minimum, the president about this particular complaint. So we're aware of it, and we're trying to do the best we
We
can
have
to.
to be very cognizant of it, because when we start talking about this, even on a federal level, they need to be aware of it. This community was decimated through the federal government. And then you don't step up to try to correct the mistakes that you made in the past, and that's a problem for me. But we talk about inclusion, we talk about diversity, and I don't really see it happening on the federal level. So, yeah, that's a real problem.
Okay.
Well, to Councilor Schultz's point, maybe we should have a resolution to our federal
we should.
representative. you know.
Absolutely.
He is aware that we got this 81 thing, I think, this our federal.
Yeah, they're pretty aware of it. They're pretty
Well, I'm just
involved.
wondering if the particular congressman we have is
Yeah.
aware of it, that's all.
Yeah, actually, we met with them last week, so yes.
What are we doing, just a question?
Yep.
And what are we doing to try to make sure on our behalf, right? So yes, we have rules, federal, state, but what are
Yeah.
we doing as a municipality here in the city to make sure that we're getting the message out so that it becomes diverse? Because we can be the messenger to make sure it gets there. So what are we doing on our
So any more engagement, is greatly appreciated from our part. We are doing DBE outreach for specifically city specific DBEs that are registered today. Obviously, increasing that number only improves the opportunity. We work with the mayor's office, deputy mayor, Greg, everybody quite extensively. When we do specific outreach, we will be doing a contract 3 DBE specific outreach on this to better help that community understand the work that is available to them, and trying to, bridge the gap and the complaint that we have heard.
There'll be a project labor agreement on this, right?
I can't say yes or no to that particular. That is still under study for contract 3. Yes.
Interesting.
Last week was recorded, right? Was that meeting
I
recorded?
believe it was.
Is that public facing? Can anybody watch that after the fact, or?
Yes, Greg is, it's not posted yet.
It will be, okay, because I think that would really be helpful for you all to see behind the scenes on all the different organizations. And I commend them because I think our city is really well connected to all of our different groups, and especially the workers who were actually on site, who spoke, who brought a tear to my eye. So those testimonials were really proof that we are connecting. But we
So
could do
what
more.
Scott is saying is that we have meetings around their efforts to match potential bidders, because we don't even know who the bidders are now, to potential businesses that can subcontract. So those opportunities happen. So we'll make sure that you all know when those are happening. So anybody who's calling you can make sure they're there, because that's the best opportunity to come together with them. And just, again, just to make sure, DBE is tricky for us because it is race and gender neutral. It's all based on the net value of the company and not the gender or the race.
And I appreciate that, and I'm with you, Scott. I think that the federal government need to take a hard look at how they're putting things out, because a lot of these things handcuff us too. And then it doesn't give the community an opportunity. And I'm talking about any minority should be able to be included in these jobs or opportunities, because they're huge opportunities. We're not just talking about construction jobs. We're talking about trucking firms. We're talking about things that will really, really bring and lift a family out of poverty. So I think the federal government need to take a hard look at how they're putting the criteria out. Not at you. And it's not-
Understood.
And Scott won't say this, but to Scott's credit, so we learned about the meeting on Saturday about the truckers who want to be a part of the next contract. And they reached out to me, and I think I gave Scott like 2 days notice, and he was there Saturday. So Scott is always ready to come and work with us and find out how we can get people on this project.
I know he is, but he need our help. So we gonna give you our help. How about that?
Thank you, Madam President.
They are doing a good job with reaching out to this community with the 2 community resource sites, Tucker Missionary Baptist and right down here at the Hills Building. So the community has an opportunity Monday through Friday to go, to call, to click the QR code.
I get that, but it's the stringency of the process that locks the community out.
For sure. But they have ears and eyes to listen to our people and to bring it back to whomever and to connect them. So, but yeah. Okay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So about this grant that you're writing, which is ginormous and awesome, you just listened to us talk about the other, the firm that we're hiring to write other grants. So is there any way for you to advise on holes in this that we should be going after to fill in any blanks, or is it?
I think we
just
do that
too
on the
separate?
regular. I think I have constant communication with Joe and Sarah in general about other opportunities financially for the city when it comes to what our work entails and where they may or may not be able to find other grant fundings. And I think that communication will always continue while we go forward. So.
Are you talking about the Sarah that Joe says?
What? No, Sarah Walton, actually. I'll actually echo what Joe and Mike said. She's a hard charger, and you guys are pretty lucky to have her. We won't steal her quite yet. So
I think we should have Sarah sit in the front from now
That's
on.
great.
And just to clarify the difference between the two. So this ginormous, and it is big, application we're going to go after in partnership with the DOT is really going to look at all the infrastructure on the footprint of the proposed project. What Joe talked about is getting some research for funds so we can connect the connecting street infrastructure.
I've had the opportunity to speak with Sarah, and contrary to what you guys are saying, she's excellent. She does a great job. So kudos to you, Sarah. But would you be able to, or Sarah, would somebody be able to give us an overview, go just a little bit more into detail of what that $30 million would actually do?
Which we were going to have a committee meeting too to follow up on that, but we certainly can.
Living and breathing.
Oh, goodness. Hello, council members.
Sarah that Joe doesn't know what she does.
Yeah, Sarah Walton, Director of East Adams Neighborhood Redevelopment. So I think this is a great example of one of the kinds of grants that first contract that Joe spoke to can get. The U.S. DOT has released some funding opportunities for communities like Syracuse to put in proposals to address the legacy of harm of transportation infrastructure. And this funding through their pot of money, the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program, is a significant portion of funding to put into community projects and community infrastructure to actually reconnect some of the public streets. And some of the things that have really been either destroyed outright or were never quite done in the neighborhoods, like in the 15th Ward. This funding is a one-time allocation through the Neighborhood Access and Equity Grants Program. NISDOT is actually taking the lead on something called a Regional Partnerships Challenge Grant. So there's $450 million set aside at the federal government to support regional partnership projects. I think we're really lucky to have NISDOT so open and working with us to really think about the whole picture. And to one of the points you made, Council Schultz, there is going to be just many more funding gaps. And the costs that are on paper today are costs of 2023. They are expected to climb and increase, of course. So we're going to have to consistently be on the lookout for funding. But this particular portion of funding for the city will really support the public infrastructure needs in the master plan that Syracuse Housing Authority and their developer, McCormick Baron Salazar, have laid out in terms of the complete streets and the connections, all of the below and above ground, the good urban design that we want to see in neighborhoods, including landscaping and everything else. So it really will take a big bite out of the larger apple that we're going to need to go after in terms of filling some of the gaps so that those housing projects can move forward. This is transportation funding, and so it really is intended to address transportation infrastructure needs, but I think what it will also provide is the opportunity for us to grow, develop, and imagine the neighborhoods that we know we want to see as a result of stronger infrastructure.
Awesome. So as transportation funding, does that mean the people who are going to be doing the work with the infrastructure, does that get governed by the state, or is that a local governance, or is that our city?
I think we still have to work out some of those details. Sorry. I thought
No
I heard
worries.
something. I think we need to work out some of those details, but right now I think we're imagining it as a source of funding that will pay for the public infrastructure work that SHA is leading through their work. So really seeing it as a separate source because DOT has to fund their own contracts and work too.
As far as the right-of-way is concerned, anything within the project scope for 81, it will be maintained by DOT. But any of that adjoining right-of-way becomes the responsibility of the city. So it is imperative for us at this opportunity, as Joe said, we have an opportunity for dig once as much as possible, not just along the project, but anything joining the project.
So with that saying, Deputy Mayor, thank you, Sarah, right? Just it's something that I recognize, and I think Councilor Allen probably agree with me. We're just doing the sidewalks on Colvin Street right now, right?
Sidewalks on Colvin.
East Colvin, sidewalks in the street.
Sidewalks and
Yes,
mill and pave.
right? Mill and pave. And when I tell you, it's a 25-minute wait to even get through between the highway. So like it's bad. Like I sat there like forever just trying to get up Colvin Street.
For the roadway part of it?
Yes. So
Okay.
my concern is when all the construction
Oh, yeah,
happens,
yeah.
people coming off Garfield, people
Yeah.
coming off. How are they gonna?
So
like-
even the notice that we were given for the shutdown of the 16 South
Yes.
exit,
Yes.
part of the feedback when we received the information probably was about 2 weeks leading up to the shutdown. We're in conversation with DOT about, giving us enough time when you know that is about to happen so we can do, continuously getting that information for people to understand when these detours, that's going to be shut down basically until 481 becomes 81.
And when did they tell, 'cause I just found out last week about exit 16A. When did they
So that
initially tell us?
that was posted in the news maybe the week before.
Yeah, because I feel like I just
so
found out last
one
week.
thing about the feedback is, and that is what the PIO, the Public Information Officer for the DOT, is we got to have more leeway time for each phase of this that is going to shut down roads. And the Colvin project is not directly related to 81. So to your point. Communication around transportation, detours, as much advanced information as we can get, and really being a part of the rerouting of traffic to make sense for folks.
And the schools, so making sure that our school district is involved. Totally,
Absolutely.
because it was kids trying
to go to school.
This is bad. Right?
Yeah, and there is the time of the project that we want to stay on board, but then there are also milestone times like the start of school when the two don't go together as smoothly as they could.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Been crazy every
You know the
morning.
timeline of when you will know about this?
Sarah, it's due the 28th? Yeah, it's coming up. Yes, it's coming up.
How long does it take for you to get an answer?
Time will tell. I think they want to make the awards as quickly as possible, especially because the neighborhood access and equity portion, that pot we're tapping into, is a 1-year kind of allocation. So I expect that we would get applications in September and hopefully know and start to think about contracts by the start of next year, which would align really well with our timing. And I guess the one point I also wanted to make, because I didn't make it before, is the Regional Partnerships Challenge grant really is made possible by a partnership, and I think the legislation that you'll see is that municipal endorsement so that we can really show the commitment to US DOT about the kind of formal ways that we're working together on all fronts, and that includes our partnership with NISDOT, but also our partnership with the Housing Authority.
Very good.
Thank you. So Scott, we need to do a resolution to US DOT, right?
Or to President Biden.
I don't know the answer to that question.
So our resolution, so we've got a couple in front of us right now. Oh, I'm sorry,
Are you
please.
talking about changing the metric? Or are you talking about this?
I'm talking about the metrics.
Yeah, change the metric.
That's Scott's
Yeah.
ball field.
I gotta be honest, I don't know.
President Biden.
Another microphone. I don't know the direct responsible party who needs to show the municipal agreement to, because we haven't worked out a municipal agreement between ourselves and the city on this particular grant application, so I don't.
You're talking about the
Criteria would.
the criteria
yeah.
for DBE.
DBE,
Oh,
absolutely.
DBE. Oh, if you were
Yes.
to, if you were to do a resolution to that, yes, it would be US DOT.
US
I
DOT.
apologize.
Thank you very much,
No
Ms.
problem.
Butler. Thank you. Okay, who's, Councilor
Councilor Schultz is all set. Thanks.
Okay, we might be out here by 1 o'clock. Councilor Hogan.
Imagine that.
Okay. Thank you, President Hudson.
Thanks.
I have items 27 through 29. Now, 27 I held because of Councilor Majok, and you've cleared up those issues, Councilor.
Yeah, so just a follow-up question. I guess, Jake, you would be the person. So talk to me about the safety if we had to add this to that intersection. Now, I had requested through the police department number of accidents, or at least the occurrences there from 2021 to this point. And there are total of 20 accidents at that intersection, 2 of which incurred injuries. So,
Councilor, in what time frame?
2021 to now.
Okay, so we're talking 2 years.
Yeah,
There's
less
been
than 2
20
years,
accidents.
actually, less than 2 years. So with that, again, that has been my worry about, even from day one, Taco Bell getting in there, we are adding another car wash in there. So just, what does that safety look like in terms of public safety?
Well, we spoke last session about how SMTC and the state have recognized, needed improvements for that intersection. I guess the question to you is, we're going to hold up all development because of all roads citywide that might need traffic improvements? I mean, so the owner has, the business owner,
let me interrupt.
hold on, but the business owner is committed to doing a traffic study. That will be part of our permitting process, but there's a number of businesses there. There's a number of people that travel outside the city that go through that intersection. There's multiple high occupancy apartment complexes in both directions. And I guess I'm not standing here saying I don't think improvements can be made, but I don't have that study, and the business owner has said he's willing to do that and will do that as part of the process. So
that will be addressed in our permitting process of doing the site work and the building permit approval process. So I can't speak to the safety. I don't track accidents. I just know that that intersection has been highlighted prior to any of this being brought before you as being one that needs improvement. I think together with all of our agencies and partners that will happen.
But shouldn't we know what the mitigation requirements are going to be before you permit anything?
Well, that's part of the process, right? Like, we would need that external traffic study, and they would go through all of that with suggestions on what should be required to add that fourth side of that light that exists there, and how they're going to control traffic.
MTC did that.
Well, the
2
mitigation
years
could
ago.
actually improve that area.
Right, it will, but
obviously,
who- I mean,
so I
who's-
mean, once it's reviewed
Who's
by
responsible for
codes.
paying that? The car wash?
It could, but I want the deputy mayor, she was gonna say something, because Jake, I hear what you're saying, but the way you said it, right? It's not that, he wants to hold up development, but we have to think about people's safety as well, and the way you
Right.
came back,
Well,
that wasn't cool at
Jake,
all.
Madam President, Jake, you got to be mindful of how you talk to us.
No,
You gotta
I'm-
really be
look,
mindful of
I-
that.
I'm mindful of
No,
that.
Jake,
we-
please, wait, hold up, Jake. I think it's important when you speak with us that the tone of the voice has to be mindful, because the way you just answered that to me backward like that, it just nothing called for that.
So if you approve this, the process that we go through for every development process includes many of the questions you're asking. We bring the developer in. The developer is not going to invest in a traffic study, for example, unless he knows that there is a path forward. So this is the process for this development process wouldn't be excluded or any different from any other process that we would take to ask the questions you're asking. So every department of the city would go through the various questions. You can absolutely pose questions to us to include in that development process, particularly around traffic patterns and right-of-way.
Who conducts the traffic study?
They would.
Like, do they hire an outside agency? Do they?
Yes, they
Because
would do
again, I can't say this enough, SMTC has done this study. They have already pages and pages of mitigation that they see, crosswalks, different timing for the lights, widening of the roads. I mean, it's out there, it's already there. So can we start there and look at that? And then if we have to do an additional traffic study to see, because we know what Delta Sonic is like on Erie Boulevard. That car wash, those people love their car wash, and so they back right up into Erie Boulevard and block that traffic. We have so much as one car in that intersection waiting to get in, we're in big trouble. So,
There you go.
Sorry. Engineering also has a TIP project scheduled for this intersection, so right now we are looking at ways in which to improve the flow of traffic and the layout of that intersection as well. So I just wanted to add
so
that
a
context.
tip study, but not a project yet. You're just researching what more needs to be done. Is that based off of the SMTC report?
And a reminder, Councilor, those studies are available to the public.
Yeah,
So
I'm well aware.
The developer can go and take a look at it as well.
But we're the governors, right? We have to dictate what mitigation needs to be done. They can look at what's been done, but unless we hold them accountable for it, they're not going to do it.
But if we're asking them to do a study, and you're saying start with that document, my only
Right.
point is they should be also looking at all the public available documents. that
Oh,
give them
absolutely.
that information.
Agree.
The Brighton Ave project is a TIP project currently in design. So we, as part of that design, which is federally funded, so we have to follow DOT guidelines. We have to do, traffic counts, analyze accidents.
Timeline for that, and then,
We're just received preliminary design approval, so now we'll be doing final design, and construction will be after DOT finishes the 481.
so in your professional opinion, do you think this project that already stands to have traffic issues is wise to go forward at this time?
I don't think we need you to testify to your personal opinion. I think that's the wrong way to go.
Thanks,
with that.
Counselor. She can answer for herself. Thank you.
I think that you're way off base, but
She can say she doesn't
we can't
know.
hold up all of these things. If a good developer is going to actually want to follow a traffic study because they're going to want to know where to put entrances and exits. I mean,
I want to come back to what I had asked. I asked a simple question from your assessment, from what you know. What about the safety? Because I just presented you with things that posed safety problems. 20 accidents in less than 2 years. And we are adding more into the intersection. We have I-81 coming up, in which 481 North, which is not too far from there. The Rock Cut Road is right there. It's not even a mile or even a half a mile. That congestion coming from, mainly is coming from down West Seneca Turnpike coming east. There's just a lot there. And I ask a simple question. What about the safety of the people? Now, I wasn't trying to make this I wasn't trying to create any complication. As a district counselor, I owe that to my constituents.
The conversation around the right-of-way, how traffic will flow, is about the safety of the people. The safety of people walking, the safety of people in cars. Whenever I'm on the south side of town and need to get to the east side, that's my route. And it is a busy intersection. Between the gas station, the donut shop, all the amenities there, which are also positive to that area.
For sure.
Because there was nothing there before.
As long as it's mitigated for
As
safety.
long as it's regulated for safety. But that all has to be a process, particularly when we talk about right-of-way and sidewalks and how traffic moves in this city. All of that is part of a development process. Believe me, Neil and other folks are going to be asking a bunch of questions of this developer around what you're speaking to in particular.
So one recommendation I would have is for Monday to either have Neil or to have someone put into context, what does 20 accidents mean compared to other parts of the city? Is it uniquely dangerous? Is that just normal with that traffic flow? Because I guess I'll just speak as a finance chair. This is a vacant garage eyesore in a key intersection. We want to back on the tax rolls in a more productive way, right? So I think while acknowledging this is a neighborhood that is opposed to development and would be, if it was a one kid opening lemonade stand, they would be against it, right? That's just how it is. So, but we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, you're doing your due diligence to make sure that we're not opening up a can of worms where it's unsafe, but we're not traffic engineers. But if Neil or someone can come in and say, like, this is a normal thing for the intersection, I think I personally would feel more comfortable with it.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to push this forward. If Neil's going to be here to address Councilor Majak's concerns.
Sure.
Particularly about traffic, but I agree with Councilor Green, we need as much tax revenue as possible.
And we all know, and particularly you all get calls, that there are these tricky intersections all over. I probably harassed Neil and Corey on a monthly basis about East Ave and Genesee Street. That's another tricky kind of corner where we have a lot of traffic, Nottingham High School right up the street. So we're always assessing these particular corners, and I'm on that intersection a lot.
And I want to, before you move on, Hoagie, I want to make a statement here, because this has been repetitive, and it's going to you and the mayor, that when the staff come here and talk here, there has to be a level of respect for the councilors.
And I would say among the counselors, too.
It has repeated itself over and over, and none of us here came here by ourselves. We were sent here by people. And at least if none of this staff has respect for the counselors, at least have respect for people who sent us here.
So the people who work for the city of Syracuse have respect for the counselors because they have respect for the city that they work for.
Deputy Mayor.
Let me finish. If there are times in this council where staff is inappropriate, you have witnesses in this chamber that we address it, whether it's any member of the senior staff, immediately. But I also want to just, your fellow councilor also said respect is mutual. That is not the case in this instance. I completely see your point. And it is addressed immediately. We're not even downstairs many times before it's addressed. So your point is taken, and I understand.
Can I just, Mayor, can I just ask one question? With that being a major hospital route too, how is that gonna affect? Is there?
Hospital route.
Yeah, because that's the route.
They get off the highway and head up the community.
Community, that's one of their major routes. Just as Neil's doing it, just could he bring that?
I'll
to
add
the-
that to the list.
Yeah, just to
Yep.
see how that is,
Yep.
if it affects or doesn't
Corey,
affect.
you getting these points? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to bring my question back up again to Mary Robison, if she would be allowed to answer whatever her answer may be.
I know, when I thought we was gonna be done at 1 o'clock.
Our consultant looks at all the traffic counts, and they do estimated future traffic counts as well. So they look at the property. It's a vacant property right now, but they should take into account, future commercial use of designated properties.
Okay, and then also the new parcel that's not too far away that was rezoned mixed use, that's currently single family. Will that be considered as well with the TIP project?
I'll take a look at it.
On Lafayette Road, right
Okay.
over near the Kinney next door?
Okay.
Because that could potentially lead to more traffic than we even know what to do with, so.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I certainly hope no developers are looking at this in the future that want to put up large buildings or anything like that. I'll put the car wash aside now, and we'll go to 28 and 29. We have Eric here.
Right. Good afternoon, councilors, and sorry to be the one that takes us well past 1 o'clock here, but
Okay, you can be quick.
Yeah, all right,
got
I
the-
will. So here to speak to items 28 and 29. So what you have before you, this is funding that has already been authorized and approved by the county through their budgeting process, but what it would essentially do is empower the city to create 2 new Main Street facade improvement programs. The target areas were predetermined by the county, but this would be for South Salina Street, for the area beginning at Adams Street as far south as Seneca Turnpike, and then also for the DRI area, if you remember, the downtown revitalization area, particularly focusing on the West Onondaga and the South Avenue business corridors. So the city and the county will work together on this program, but what we will do is we haven't selected any projects. We're going to do an open application process. Accept applications, consider projects, facade enhancements, interior, exterior upgrades, and then we'll ultimately be able to award those projects to support further development and strengthening our business corridors. So right now, it's just authorizing the funding. We will launch the program later this fall for these 2 respective areas, and this would be accepting $1.25 million for each corridor.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask for each quarter.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
outside, that's outside, right?
What's the criteria?
Yes.
on this?
So the criteria, and we submitted a framework that the county has put together. It's really boilerplate. There will be a lot more detail we'll put together for applicants. It is largely exterior focused. There is an ability with some of the funding to be able to do interior upgrades as well. Certainly focusing on activating storefronts, any buildings that really could use this type of capital
And the determination
investment.
be made by the city staff. Correct?
Correct. So what we will do is we'll accept all the applications, work alongside the county community development offices, who ultimately then we will work with to be able to get those funds out the door. But yes, we'll be involved in terms of how those projects are selected.
Could you send me the link for the application, please?
Just send the criteria to all of us so that we
Absolutely.
can know.
Yeah, and we wanted to give background with the legislation. We'll submit. I'll send that all to make sure everyone has it. And then, Councilor, did you have a question as well?
I was just thinking, you send the link for the application so I can
Absolutely.
see that.
Okay.
Do you know when the next round of funding will be available to apply for this? Because while the south side is getting a ton, little old north side over here still is in desperate need.
So that's feedback that I'll make sure I take back to the county and to their community development department. This was, they do this throughout Onondaga County, a lot of the towns and villages that they've done this, and then this is really the first Syracuse-focused projects that they're awarding to us. So we just want to make sure that we get as many applications and interested projects as possible.
Will there be a cap per project? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Will there be a cap per project?
So we're working through that right now with the county. So in the past, we've done up to 100,000. There may be an ability to go over that. It really would depend on the large size and scale of the project. There is a matching component I should reference. So this is very similar to Main Street programs we've done in the past. 25% match from the project recipients, but then we have the ability to fund up to 75%. So 3/4 of that project work can be covered with this funding.
Majority of this is particularly to the downtown surrounding area, not too much of the north and south and east and west.
So, well, with this funding, this is not going to be in the downtown core. This will actually be in those adjacent, corridor adjacent or downtown adjacent. So thinking like west Onondaga Street, when you go past the railroad bridge, that area past the railroad bridge, and then focusing on South Ave. That was the DRI focused area. And then with South Salina, it begins at Adams. So think where the central bus hub is. Anything further south than that on Salina.
This is already adding to the attention we've had to the DRI in the west.
Correct. Yep. No, this will complement those efforts.
How far
for
down
sure.
Salina will you go?
Seneca.
So up until West Seneca Turnpike, or east and West Seneca Turnpike, right at where Salina meets it.
There's a map of the DRI and the projects that would probably qualify for this. It stops at Crescent, and then there's the potential 900 Ave gas station.
So-
Would it move over?
It's a good question. So the project that you're referencing is one that recently was included with the distressed property fund that we used ARPA funding for. However, with this funding and the county authorized this to follow within the boundaries of that DRI target area. That DRI target area takes you up to Hovey Street and the Onondaga Creek. So anything further south of that, unfortunately, wouldn't qualify for this program. However, the project you're referencing, we have worked to provide other support.
Tell the county thank you for including the city too. That's great.
Can I ask you a question, Eric? And I hate to put more work on your plate, but maybe if you could, I know there were quite a few Main Street grants from previous years.
Correct. Yep.
I mean, because everybody sits here and say who not getting what. Can we see what Main Street grants came out for what areas within, I'm gonna say, I don't know, last
Sure.
5, 10 years?
Yeah, I can go back and provide that list of those awards. The most of the time when we've used the term Main Street, a lot of that started at the New York State level, and then now the county's established their own program. But I can work to provide a list of any of the awards the cities
all of the
have.
Main Streets money.
Sure,
I would like
yep.
to see how it was distributed.
Sure.
The distressed corridor, because that's also commercial corridor.
Because
Yeah,
again,
yep,
and I'm
absolutely.
saying this because I hear what Councilor Schultz said, I get it, but I think every part of the city feel like they're not getting their fair share, okay? And when we talk about distressed corridors, I do recall, I've been here long enough, that I think Butternut, Lodi, all that area got distressed. So I really want to see the whole shakedown of what got what, who got what.
Okay. So we can absolutely provide that. And then what the deputy mayor is referring to is that the ARPA funding programs that we've done, those were citywide. And our goal was making sure that we were able to invest that and disseminate that as much as possible. Councilor, to your point, though, with feedback about any future opportunities and what we're hearing, we'll make sure the county hears that as well. This was, they came to us, which of course we're grateful for the investment, but it wasn't, we'll work with them on where the future opportunities could
And
be.
they're putting their fish tank in the inner harbor, so they're gonna want the north side to look good to get to the fish tank, so, saying.
Okay. Any other questions, though, about the program?
So I don't know, give me a second. I don't know if this makes sense in regard to this application, but you have had interaction with folks at, Southside Valley area and their needs, you know what I mean? And needs like food insecurity, shortages, that working with Palladino at Valley Plaza.
Sure.
So I don't know, in terms of the county proposing something like this, would there be room to maybe incorporate things like that to work with,
So I think the best way to answer your question is we just need willing property owners that are willing to work with us to submit the application and then work through this program. The Valley Plaza is a great example where it's on Salina Street. It will qualify for this program. And then what we intend on doing is working with as many of those property owners that will put together the application. And then we'll provide them any technical support assistance that they need to be able, as long as there's a project there that's eligible for this funding, we'll do everything we can to get the funds out the door.
This is great news, county money being spent in the city. I love hearing it. And I appreciate everybody's questions on it, but this is terrific. So is there any other questions? President Hudson,
Okay, we're gonna be out here by 1:15. Councilor Majoke, 1:15.
Councilors, item 30 is a contract with Solon Quinn Studios for professional services to include marketing, photography, videography, and graphic design and microsite development on behalf of the police department. They've already completed year one. This will be for year two of the contract. Continue the work they've done.
No, I'm completely okay with this because I know the work of Solon and what he does. He does his work with such passion and such heart in it, and, you know, I'm okay with this item.
Thank God we did it.
Work as well.
So with that, I need a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See you Monday.